Hello my kin, my name is Kin Ping, but you can call me Kin, and today I'm doing another tier list video, and this time it is about some Warhammer 40k models from Games Workshop. Now this video is going to be focusing on the Adepta Sororitas, and this year the Adepta Sororitas had a big upgrade. They had a big update effectively, and got new war scrolls, some new models, units, and yeah, they got a lot of new stuff, and I'm going to be here and talk about what models are the best, what models are good, what models are bad, what models do you need in an army to make it successful, and all of that. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you're thinking of starting an Adepta Sororitas army, then this video will help you out. I have a pretty big Adepta Sororitas army, and I know I've got the codex right here beside me, so I can look at the war scrolls as I talk about all this stuff. So I hope you guys find this either just interesting and fun to listen to, or you actually find out that it helps you and you know what units you want to build for your army and everything. So I think we will start it off with the Battle Sisters themselves. This is the core unit. You need at least one unit of Battle Sisters. Ideally, you should have two, at least. You need Battle Sisters in your army. They are essential. And one of the reasons for that is that they're the only unit in the whole Adepta Sororitas army that has the troop. That is a troop. Everything else are either HQs, elites, fast attack, heavies. You need Battle Sisters. That's the bottom line. If you're going to have an army of Adepta Sororitas, you need a unit of Battle Sisters. And they're a decent unit as well. They're probably, I think, they could be a bit tougher, but they are still good, and you can have different weapon choices like flamers and storm bolters. I think you might be able to have a melter or something, but they are good. And having them alongside people like Hospitalers and other like HQ supporting roles, they do actually do a fair amount of damage, and they just make your army just more solid and feel like a proper army. Next, well, let's do the Canoness. Now, the Canoness is technically who you would have as your leader, unless you had like Celestine or Morvenval. Unless you had a named character, you would have a Canoness as your warlord. And Canoness are okay. They don't actually give much supporting value. Like, they're good. I think they're okay single heroes. They got a power sword. Power sword's good. I've definitely got at least one Canoness, and they're an okay unit. But the thing is, you want a named character instead. You don't want your warlord to be a Canoness. Because if your warlord's a Canoness, that's not good. Ideally, you want Morvenval or Celestine to be your warlord. While Canoness is still good, it's much more effective to actually put your money into a named character than a Canoness. So, I'm going to put it in solid. It's a solid unit, not half bad. It is good, but it's definitely worth saving extra to get a named character. And then let's do these guys. These guys, I've actually forgotten the name. Let me open my book and have a look. Arco Flagellants. Don't even go there with Arco Flagellants. I mean, they're not a bad unit, don't get me wrong. But in an Adepta Sororitas army, don't even go there. You are much, much better off getting Sister Repenta, because Repenta are awesome. But getting Arco Flagellants, no, because they don't benefit from half of your rules. You can't use Miracle Dice. Absolute waste going with Arco Flagellants. Not worth it at all. And then that's actually the same with the Missionary and whatever the other one's called. If the bottom line is, if a unit doesn't have the Adepta Sororitas keyword, or the order keyword, depending on what Adepta Sororitas order you are, then don't get it. Because literally half your rules you can't use on that model. And so don't spend money on models that aren't actually going to fit with your army. Like, if you're making, like, an Armies of the Imperium, if you're doing a mix match army of a whole lot of them, then sure, go for it. They could work well. But in just an Adepta Sororitas army, having units that don't have that keyword is a complete waste. So obviously, that's the same for the Death Cult Assassins and the, I can't remember what they're called, but the Guards. It's not worth it. Like, while they may be good units, it's really not worth it. I don't think it is. Because the Adepta Sororitas have so many good units of their own that you shouldn't be going out to buy these type of units that are just like Armies of the Imperium. Okay, next we'll talk about Celestine, seeing as I mentioned her before. She is an incredibly good character. She is incredibly good. And as you can see here, she has two, can't remember what they're called, but they're basically two Seraphim Superiors alongside her that have a power sword and a bolt pistol each. Or was it a plasma pistol? I can't remember. I think it's a bolt pistol. But she's really powerful. You need her in an army. If you don't have more than Val, get Celestine. Celestine is just, she's really powerful. And she keeps coming back. She's got really good endurance. Like, she's constantly healing her two superiors and bringing them back from the dead. Then the first time she dies, there's a like 2-up chance that you can revive her. She is really powerful. And she gives good buffs as well. She's got auras and she's got good weapons. She's just all around pretty good character. Probably not as good for buffing stuff as, say, like Morven Vala's. But Celestine is very good. She is possibly one of the best units the Adepta Sororitas have. She is a living saint, so it's to be expected. But yeah, definitely try and get her if Morven Val's sold out or something. Then we have the Imaginifier. I think that's what you call it. I don't actually have one of these, but I do really want to get one after reading their War Scroll. Basically, at the start of every game, you can choose one of 3 different stories, I think. You can choose one of 3 different stories that they're telling and chanting as the battle rages on. So you can choose a buff. And then every unit within like 6 inches of her at all times gets that certain buff. And I think she may also know hymns, or is that someone else? But she's got really good buff. And after reading it, I kind of regret not having one of these sooner, because it is a very good unit. You don't need it though. Like, obviously I don't have it and my army is doing fine without it. I mean, obviously it would do a lot better with her, but it's doing fine. So I think I'll put her in very good, because she is a good unit. Pelotine is not that good. It's meant to be like a secondary sort of buffer to the Canoness in lore. The Pelotine are like underneath the Canoness. Not worth it. Pelotine, it's not even at this rank here. You just don't go there. If you want a Pelotine, you might as well get a Canoness. If you have like a warlord like, say, Morven Val or Celestine, and then you want a couple other supporting heroes, just grab a Canoness, because the Canoness is better than the Pelotine, and Pelotine is not worth having if you just want to support a hero. I mean, sure, she's probably cheaper, but the stats and buffs and stuff just aren't as good. I don't see why you would get a Pelotine over a Canoness, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, next we have Astrid Thurga and Agatha Dolan. Now, these two are heroes, I mean, obviously, and they've got a whole story behind them. I'm sure some of you will know that if you know your Adepta Sororitas lore. They allow you to get more relics at the start of the game. You can equip your heroes with more relics, like Canoness and stuff. So she is good, and she's not a bad fighter at all. The two of them fight pretty well. They give some buffs, but they also, they're solid by themselves. They don't have to be with an army. They can go out and fight by themselves if you really want them to. They're not that bad. Honestly, though, you don't need it. You don't need that unit. It's okay. I mean, if you want more flavor in your army, then sure, chuck them in. But otherwise, you don't need it. Just grab one of the other heroes. Oh, and also, we talked about the Canoness. This model here is a Canoness. She's just a special Canoness, but she doesn't have any special rules. So don't go there unless you want the model. The model's actually, in my opinion, is a pretty naff model. It's not all that different. I'd rather just have one of the cool Canoness models. It's not worth going there. I mean, if you want the model, the only reason to buy it is because it's a different model, obviously, and she's a named character, but not really worth it. And also, there's another one here. This one here is a named Sister Superior who you can grab to put into one of your Battle Sister units, and she's pretty cool. The model is really cool. Don't know much about the named character though, but the model is actually really cool. So I'll just put it in don't need it just above this one because that pose is iconic. It's iconic artwork from the Adepta Sororitas stuff, so it's pretty cool. Then we have the Battle Sanctum. Now the Battle Sanctum is the Adepta Sororitas one piece of scenery, and it's okay. It's really expensive, keep in mind. And though it is a cool piece of scenery, the only buff that it gives your Adepta Sororitas is that if you have any Adepta Sororitas unit, you spend a turn praying and it will get you an extra miracle dice. So while that's good, honestly, you don't really need it. It's cool scenery, don't get me wrong, and it'll give your like battle sisters and stuff cover when you're fighting, and you can get free miracle dice out of it, but you don't really need it. Next, we have the Dialogus. The Dialogus is much better than you'd think it is. Basically, it has aura abilities and stuff that increase leadership and can increase miracle dice as well. And it knows hymn, it knows a war hymn, which is really good. So, the Dialogus, I actually don't have one, which I kind of regret, just like this one. Yeah, it's a lot better than people say. It's probably one of the Adepta Sororitas' best supporting units, even over the Hospitaller. This just means that if you're doing like Order of Our Martyred Lady, where you have lots of miracle dice and stuff, this is the person you want. She will help out a lot. And if you know you want strong ass leadership, you don't want to worry about leadership, and you've got like lots of a unit of 20 battle sisters or like a unit of lots of repenta or something, that is the supporter that you want. Now, the Triumph of St. Catherine. Oh my god, this model is absolutely amazing. I mean, expensive, but totally worth it. I've wanted to get one of these for so long. The Triumph of St. Catherine is an amazing model. It's so cool, and it's got a representative from every single order. It gives lots of buffs, decent with melee, I'm pretty sure. It's just buff. Got lots of buffs, good health. It's crazy. That being said, you don't need it. I mean, you probably should have it in an army if you're going full Adepta Sororitas. You want, like, hard out, just massive army. You do need one of these. But if you're just starting an army, you just want to be able to play some games with friends and stuff, you don't need it. It's very, very good, but you don't need it. Now, the Castigator. This is the Adepta Sororitas tank, and it's okay. It does have good weapons, like the tank itself is a pretty decent weapon, but the minus here is that you can't put models inside of it, and when you have things like the, what's it called, the Mobilator, when you have things like the Mobilator that have good weaponry, and you can put people inside of it, kind of makes the Castigator irrelevant, really. So while you, I mean, obviously grab it if you want, but you don't need it. It's not necessary when there's stuff like the Mobilator, which I'll talk about now. Mobilator can basically be equipped with a shit ton of multi-melters and double like storm bolters and heavy bolters and shit like that. It's really good, and it's a transport, so you can put models in it. And though the weapons on the tank, like if you get in the immobilation flamers and stuff like that, even though they got short range, that shouldn't matter, because it's like it's a transport. You're going to be going like into enemy lines to drop off your sister's repenta. So what does it matter, the range? So you need it. You really do. If you don't get a Rhino, like if you got the choice between a Mobilator and a Rhino, get the Mobilator. The Mobilator is so much better because it's like a tank and a transport in one, while this is a tank and this is a transport. So the Rhino, I'd probably put in solid. I mean, it's okay, but obviously there's better stuff you can get, like the Mobilator, so just grab that. Rhino's okay. It obviously It's less power, but it doesn't have the weaponry that the Mobilator does. And the Mobilator has 1 extra wound. So there's always that. Now, the Pentonite Engines. These are not Adepta Sororitas, so don't go there. And there's another reason for that. Don't hate me. It's because the Adepta Sororitas have their own version. Mortifiers are basically Pentonite Engines. Quite literally, they are just the Adepta Sororitas Pentonite Engines, and they're freaking awesome. You need them in your army. You really do. I mean, they're nowhere as essential as, like, transport and just battle sisters in general, but you do need them in your army. They just give an extra, like, bulkiness to your army. Having a unit of, like, 2 or 3 of them, it would make your army look a lot more formidable, because they are, like, scary. I don't actually have mortifiers, but I've got 2 Pentonite Engines. No, I've only got 1 Pentonite Engine. I only have 1 Pentonite Engine, but it is scary. It's really, really scary. So imagine what, like, 2 mortifiers or 3 mortifiers could do. It's strong, man. It is really, really strong. Next, we have Sisters Repenta and Repenta Superior. This is a very good unit because these are basically the absolute fanatics of the Adepta Sororitas. They just got massive chainswords and they just want to kill shit. And the cool thing is, you get miracle dice when they die. And that means that you can create their Repenta units however you want. You could have 2 units of 5 and 1 transport and just have them run out, get killed, and then get miracle dice for it. So you're doing damage and getting free miracle dice. It's just awesome. And obviously, or you could do a big unit of like 10 of them and you could try and have them survive as long as possible with like ward saves and stuff like that. Because though they don't have a save, they got like a 5-up save, then a 6-up save because they're Adepta Sororitas. No, 6-up invul save, then a 5-up ignore wounds. So they're really strong. Repenta Superior, also a strong unit. Though they're nowhere as strong as like Canoness and stuff, the unit itself is just crazy. You do need them. I even bought an extra unit. They're definitely worth getting because they just add that melee aspect. Like, if you don't have mortifiers, then grab Repenta. If you don't have Repenta, grab mortifiers. You need something melee because the battle sisters themselves, they're not melee. They will not stand up in melee. No way. No way in hell. Even these lot here, I'll talk about them later, they don't stand up well in melee because they're just squishy, you know? They're squishy. And the Repenta, while they only have 1 wound each, they are just way stronger. Celestine Sacrosancts, the ones with the shields and the spears or the maces, they're okay. Like I said before, they're obviously the melee unit of the Adepta Sororitas. They aren't the freaking crazies, but the crazies are so much better. You know, they're okay. They're a solid unit, but if you have the choice between Repenta and Sacrosancts, you have to go Repenta, because Repenta just can be used for so many more different things. Next up is Miss Stern and her high elf, no, well, not high elf, whatever they're called in 40k buddy. I actually don't think I can pronounce her first name. I'm sorry about that. But basically, she's a hero. She's got a book. She's got a nickname as well. Demon Fuge, that's her nickname. She's really cool. She's got a whole story about her. I think there's a book about her and everything. She's really cool. And her model, alongside her buddies, is really cool. The 2 of them got really cool models, and they got really good stats. They got really, really, really good stats. She's built for taking on Chaos Demons, or Chaos Space Marines. She'll do well against either. Very good unit. Same thing like the Triumph of St. Catherine. She's a very good model, but you don't need her in your army. So yeah, I'll just put her in very good. Then we have Dogmata. And the Dogmata is a hero. And they're okay. They got some buffs. They got okay melee, but yeah, you really don't need them. Like I said before, if you're going for a hero, just grab one of the named characters or grab the Canoness or something, because the Dogmata is... yeah, they're just I personally wouldn't use them for much in my battles. I could like easily have someone else for the point cost that they are. I could have like another unit of battle sisters or something, which would just be so much more effective and efficient as well. Then we've got Paragon War Suits, and these guys are incredibly powerful. Basically, it's like having 3 weaker Morven Vals in one unit, and Morven Val is an absolute tank. Absolute tank. These Paragon War Suits, you need them in your army. You really do. They're a top tier unit and just so powerful. Really, really powerful. I can't stress that enough, man. They're so powerful. You do need some Paragon War Suits in your army because they're very good. Now we'll talk about the Retributors. These are basically the heavy weapon unit of the Adepta Sororitas. Get a whole bunch of like multi-melters and stuff in there. They're very good. You don't need them. I've found that having Retributors will obviously increase your firepower, but it doesn't really change much, I don't think. Obviously, they do a lot of damage. They're just another threat that your opponent has to worry about, basically. So they will get targeted pretty quick, I've found. They will be targeted. Let's just put it that way. They will be targeted, and they're pretty squishy on 1 health each. Next, the Hospitaller, who's the healer of the group. She can do some healing on your heroes and stuff. But keep in mind, when you look at her War Scroll, that healing ability does not mean she can bring people back. She cannot bring like a Battle Sister or something back. So keep that in mind. She's got okay other spells. I mean, not spells. She's got okay like auras and stuff. But you don't really need her. I mean, it is good having her, but she isn't amazing. It would be much better to get a Dialogist or something like that because, yeah, she's kind of overrated. Next, we got the Zephyrin and Seraphim. So these are the 2 flying units, and they're basically the same. Technically, the only difference here is the Zephyrin have swords and the Seraphim have 2 pistols. So the Zephyrin have a sword and a pistol, Seraphim have 2 pistols. Now, there are lots of stratagems you can use to have them come down and shoot and then go back up and come down again and stuff. I will put them just above the Seraphim. Seraphim are solid units. They're good to just harass and distract enemies. And the Zephyrin are just probably have more oomph because they've got actual swords, and the bolt pistols, though they're good, I've found that in my battles they do like no damage at all during the whole battle. They're just there to harass. Now, the Exorcist, another one of the tanks for the Adepta Sororitas. You don't need it. You'd be much better off getting a Mobilator because the Exorcist, though it looks absolutely badass, looks truly awesome, it's not as good. Not as good as the Mobilator, because I feel like Adepta Sororitas transport is really important. If you don't have transport, you're going to fail because your army will be taken out by the superior firepower of other armies. So having transport allows melee units to get in close and everything. So, yeah. Next, Junith from the Order of Our Martyred Lady. She is purely for Our Martyred Lady. If you aren't playing the Order of Our Martyred Lady, then she is going to be absolutely useless to you. I mean, she'll still do some damage, but all her aura abilities and everything, Order of Our Martyred Lady. That is the only thing she buffs. So that's why I'm going to put her in solid, because I don't play that. I've found like Order of the Bloody Rose and stuff are so much better than Our Martyred Lady, at least for me and my army. So yeah, she's a solid unit, but if you're not doing Martyred Lady, just don't even go there, because it'd be an absolute waste. If you're doing Martyred Lady, however, and you only plan on doing Martyred Lady every single time you fight, then sure, grab her, that'd be fine. Now we have the Celestians and Dominion squads. You buy it as a pack, then you can decide which one you want. Neither of them are all that good. They're kind of just Battle Sisters, but with little quirky buff thing. Yeah, they're solid. I mean, you could have maybe a Dominion squad in your army, but otherwise, not really worth it. it'd just be worth getting more battle sisters for battle line and troops and stuff. So yeah, meh. And then we come to the Abyss Sanctorium herself, Morven Val. She is the best unit Adepta Sororitas have. Literally the best unit. She is so freaking powerful. I've had so many battles with her, and she hasn't died once. She only has 7 wounds, but she is just an absolute tank that no one is going to kill her. Literally no one. The lowest I've had her on is maybe 3 wounds left. She is insanely powerful. She's OP. She's literally OP. I don't know what Games Workshop was thinking, but with Miracle Dice and stuff, there is no way she's going to die. She is crazy, crazy good. Yeah, I should make another tier for Morvenvale. She's crazy. Anyway, I hope that helped you figure out what sort of units you want in your army or something. This was fun to do. I really like Adepta Sororitas. It's the only 40k army I actually have, because they're just freaking awesome. They're probably the most badass army in 40k. I'm sorry, but they really are. So, yeah. Go buy some Adepta Sororitas and get a Battle Sister army and stuff. They're really fun to play. And here are the units you need. Go have some fun. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, my kin.